Hi, I am from Be The Change. I'm also from Love Local Jobs, just to confuse you all. So as you heard from Gary earlier, Love Local Jobs has provided regional jobs platforms for a vast variety of businesses across Sussex over the last 7 years. And from the very beginning, we've had a unique focus on helping to create and promote pathways into work for local people. And in particular, we're very passionate about young people. All too often, we've heard from our clients that use the job boards that young people applying for jobs are lacking the employability skills that businesses are looking for. So we've worked really hard over the years to make useful connections and introductions within the community to create online resources that will help to support young people on their journey into work. And what's become increasingly apparent is that although there is a definite place for online resources, there's a distinct need and desire for more face-to-face advice and guidance directly from the business community in order to bridge that gap between education and employment. And as many of you know, the world of business and the world of education work extremely differently. And we felt that we were in a unique position to use our experience and our relationships and contacts to create an infrastructure and an interface that made it easier and more effective for these two disparate entities to engage. Working with an amazing social business called Human Utopia, we've created a programme that provides just such an infrastructure. And by working closely with our partners and organisations from across Sussex, we've enabled a diverse and eclectic range of business professionals with a wealth of different skills and experiences, the chance to support and inspire young people with truly incredible results. This is Be The Change.
I can see my students changing in there. They are actually growing in confidence in front of my eyes. As far as I'm concerned, the programme's already starting to deliver.
It's key for us that we have students that come to us that are work ready. The Be The Change programme can help the children have an all-rounded personality and the skills that we look for as an employer, so we really feel that it will benefit us.
Really been about them trying to motivate us to change ourselves and put us in different mind frames so that we're doing better in our education and changing our lives.
It's been quite an amazing thing to see so many young people in one room being confident enough to speak up about their experiences. The way they've responded to us has been really inspiring because they're able to see, actually, no, we're not very different from you and you can be where you want to be just as we have.
I've spoken to 3 or 4 young people who are having really challenging life stories and they're able to talk about it. And this is a way of them doing that outside of the school, outside of their peer group, and just having time to reflect about who they want to be.
I've really enhanced my own confidence, my own happiness, and actually I'm really hopeful for the future.
It's enhanced my listening skills. It's made me look at things from different angles.
It's helping me to develop maybe a bit more empathy with the students at the age that they're at.
I'm actually learning how to become a better manager through listening and talking to these 14-year-olds. Within a couple of hours, it's been the most inspirational, challenging, rewarding thing I've ever done.
They've really taught you, they've considered your feelings. We're learning a lot of employability skills.
It's not every day I speak to young people, and in doing that, I feel like I've grown another skill set.
There's a role and an opportunity for us as an employer locally to help put something back into the communities in which we work and where we live. The talent's on our doorstep, we're just not unlocking that talent.
This is an amazing programme and I'm really pleased that some of the enterprise advisors that are involved in the network here in Coastal Capital are also part of today, and I would love to see more interaction between businesses, with schools and the Be The Change programme and the wider enterprise advisor network.
I'm thankful for the experience too and love to be involved again.
It's been one of the best things I've ever been involved with.
It's fantastic for Hastings to be making a difference in the communities that we serve.
I feel like I'm in a different mindset and I feel like I can be true to myself.
I didn't realise the enormity and the power that it actually had.
I'm sure you probably recognise quite a few people that starred in that video because they're in this room. There's some amazing business guides who have already come this far with us on the journey with Be the Change. So thank you to those people that are here. It's been a very steep but fulfilling learning curve. Those of you that have been involved will know, and we've learnt loads along the way. 3 years on, we now have a holistic, inspirational and engaging series of 6 interactions made up of inspirational large-scale conferences, one-to-one sessions and workplace visits that take up no more than 5 days of a volunteer's time. The programme focuses on happiness, communication and relationship building, confidence, aspirations and ultimately the employability skills that businesses are looking for in young people. But the benefits to businesses just don't stop there. What Be the Change and programmes like it are providing is an opportunity for businesses to engage with their future workforce at a time when they're making really key decisions about their future and building awareness of their employer brand amongst these young people so that they have a far clearer view of the local opportunities available to them. At the same time, they're able to provide a unique and innovative way of engaging their employees with their own internal ethos by providing fulfilling and meaningful personal and professional development opportunities. So far, we've enjoyed support from over 60 businesses in Sussex across the public and private sectors and worked with more than 1,000 students from over 50 schools, and 100% of all those involved and surveyed said that they would recommend Be the Change to others. We have a fantastic bespoke 3-year programme running in both Bexon and Leicester with insurance giants Hastings Direct. You saw some of them talking on that video, and you'll hear again from Gary Hoffman in a short while. We have also received support and funding from an array of businesses covering several different industry sectors, local authorities, the universities, Sussex Learning Network, the Met and Sussex Police, and the Careers and Enterprise Company and Coast Capital LEP, who work in partnership to coordinate an amazing initiative called the Enterprise Advisor Network, which is designed to bring senior leaders within business together with senior leaders within education to work together to develop and improve careers strategies across the board with every school. And I think we've got Faye and Penny somewhere in the audience, if you can give me a whoop, from the LEP, and they're happy to discuss the project with you at the end if you're staying for a couple of drinks. So it's safe to say that everything we've achieved over the past 3 years, quite simply, would not have been possible without the passion, knowledge and expertise of the person that I'm about to introduce. He has worked tirelessly over the last 14 years building up an incredible organisation called Human Utopia, who work in schools up and down the country, changing the lives of young people who need it the most. Using his incredible ability to engage and enlighten even the toughest of audiences, Graham has touched the lives of thousands of young people. He has worked with us to develop and expertly deliver this powerful and impactful programme, and I would like to invite him to the stage now to talk to you further about the real importance of the work that he does and why programmes like Be the Change really will help to change the future of our country. Please put your hands together for Mr. Graham Moore.
As you can probably tell, I'm a long way from home, and people are moving their handbags a little bit closer to the feet here. As soon as Brighton's like my second home. My business partner of 14 years just lives up in Hove, actually. So I feel at home here. But I left home at 10 o'clock on Monday morning, and I'm getting emotional because I haven't seen my kids and my wife all week. So at the end, I'm going to whiz off and get that train out to Brighton. It's not that I'm being rude. I just want to go home because I'm tired and I'm a little bit homesick. I've also got something called a benign essential tremor for the medics amongst you, which is a tiny little tremor in my muscle there. And when I get excited, like I am now, or I drink too much coffee, that starts my arm going. And then when I get really excited, my leg goes, and I feel like Elvis. And oh. So if you see it shaking, it's just because I'm excited. I guess I need to rephrase that one. Don't put that on there. I was listening to Tim with real interest there, and I've just got to blow him right out the water. I thought Adam's been one of our mentors on one of the courses. I thought what he said was just stunning. What Tim's come on and said was even, well, just as complimentary, because I run a company where there's 21 of us, and 14 of them we met at school. We brought them in. We knew them from when they were in year 5, year 6, year 7, and we've just watched them grow. We've encouraged them to grow, and they work for us now. And they cause chaos every single day. One of them applied for a job yesterday without telling me, and then the employer rang me for a reference. And I said, but she works for me. So we've had that, we've got all that going on. So when we say they'll be sticking around for a couple of years, they do. But we try to give them as much love and support in that time possible. And for that reason, Youth Employment UK have awarded us Small Employer of the Year for the last 2 years. We're going to try and make it a hat-trick of years, because we really do everything these guys say. We really do. We try to look after them. We do as much as we can. And we have WhatsApp groups. And as a 53-year-old CEO, you'd be glad to know I am tech savvy. And this was the message that I sent on Tuesday morning, to all of them. Just stop what you're doing and reflect upon the scale and magnitude of what you're about to do today. It's amazing, isn't it? Now go and enjoy the privilege. And we've worked with over 1,000 kids in, I think, about 10 different schools this week. We are values driven, and that's one of the reasons why those young people want to come and work for us. It's not easy to retain them. It's easy to recruit them. We've got a whole conveyor belt. But this retention is just driving me crazy. And I was saying to the guys you're going to hear from in a second, we're actually going to set a leadership academy up, and we're going to give them 3 years. They're not going to get in debt. They don't have to pay $9 grand a year at uni. We're going to give them a job for 3 years. We're going to give them all the skills in the world. We send them to Bogota in Colombia, where we've got programs. I'm actually a camp director up in New Hampshire every summer, where I manage 65 millennial staff, which you can imagine is a bit of a challenge. It's an all-female camp, so I stick out like a sore thumb. It's a bit of a challenge, and we're giving them all these types of things, but at the end of 3 years from now on, we're going to say, that's it, go and change the world. And we're going to let them go. And it was based on an idea, as I was saying to the boys, I read in the New York Times in the summer about a law firm that actually employ young solicitors for 3 years and then say, like, go, beat it, go away. And it sounds harsh, but actually it's not, because I've got 4 teenagers living at home, and I don't want them to live at home for much longer. I want them to go and see the world. I've just realised I need a clicker. I don't know where it is, Rose. Is it up here somewhere? Because none of what I was going to say is on the screen there. So I want to tell you about Be the Change, because Gary and Carlo, my business partner, Carlo used to be Gary's teacher. They had a pint one night. They got talking about what we do and what they do and Gary's vision. We had the skills. You know, Rose has paid me some lovely compliments, but we wouldn't be running this program if it wasn't for these 2 guys, because Rose's sort of methodical, persistent nature to get this program off the ground was amazing, and it has made a difference. I'll whiz through it. If you look at those people, kids at school are being sold a dummy, as far as I'm concerned. They're being told you've got to get these grades, otherwise you'll never get a job. And you know as well as I do, most of you are not really that bothered about the grades. You're more interested in the human being. And that's where we come in, because we're saying to schools, you're getting it wrong. The grades will go up if you get them 4 things right. And I meet girls all over the country. I met one yesterday in Bexley Heath. From there to there, she's scarred from self-mutilation, from self-harm. She's got no hope. She's got no confidence. All her happiness is being drained by what goes on at school with her. And we have to challenge that first of all, and we do that in a really quite dramatic way. I know Darren is in here somewhere, James is in here, Simon's in here, Adam's in here. It is dramatic, and it's tearful, and it's not enjoyable to sit and listen to young people pouring their hearts out. But it gives them confidence. It gives them that, rather than that swagger when they walk in saying, respect to you, blood, and your brother. That, you know as well as I do, that's just swag, and you get them to stand under a spotlight like this, and they can't do it. Well, we teach them how to do it. So those 4 things really are about well-being. The 4th one for me is just as important as the rest, because we start with the relationship they have with themselves, because most of them have got a really distorted relationship. And if you come and see how we actually make that explicit, you'll understand just why it's distorted. So we try and address those 4 things first, and then we say, actually, what employers want. You know, the grades will get you an interview. Like Anne's just said, you know, they take on A-level students. So the grades will get you the interview. But actually, when you get into the job, what you're going to need are the skills like teamwork, collaboration, communication, responsibility, respect for others, non-judgmentalism, tolerance, all these things that we try and teach them on the programme. And when you get those 5 things right, the grades go up anyway. And teachers are paying for kids to go on to McDonald's for breakfast, to holiday clubs to get the grades up. When actually, let's just spend a little bit more time in school focusing on these things. So that's what we try and do on the programme. And it comes from Mahatma Gandhi. That's where we got the phrase from originally, that you have to go out there and be the change in the world. So when we were applying for social enterprise status, lots of these people were saying, well, have you got a theory of change? And I said, no, but I'll get one. And I was waiting for a taxi one day, and this honestly took me 30 seconds to write, and I thought, wow. And then I realised it'd take me 30 years to develop. It really did start when I was a teacher. I started from the point where they don't know that they don't know something. So they don't get that there's a different paradigm and a different world that's going on. So they're going to resist, especially when a middle-aged Scouser walks into a room full of 200 kids from South London like I did yesterday. I've got absolutely nothing in common with them, and especially when I put a hood on and pretend to be a gangster, they cringe. But I love it. I love the fact that they cringe, because I know it's a joke. So we make them laugh, and within seconds, we've already told them, look, you're going to get nothing but unconditional respect from us. And we get most kids to that point there. That's where we get them. I can pretty much guarantee we'll get every kid to that point where they sit there in the audience and make resolutions. But you know, coming up in January, you're going to make resolutions about smoking, about diet, about wine, that you're not going to drink as much and you're going to get a gym membership. And then on the 5th of January, you're looking in the top drawer for the biscuits that you've hidden and the wine comes out. It's really hard to bridge that gap between resolution and action, and that's why we have 6 days in the programme, so that we can keep revisiting these changes. We don't tell them they've got to change, of course. You imagine trying to tell a teenager they've got to change. If I did that in my house, they'd end up squatting in my house, because you can't tell these kids they've got to change. So we very subtly ask them, do you think you need to change? And of course, at the beginning, they all say no. As the day goes on, we get them to look at what's stopping them. Probably one of the most powerful icons we use is that I may look like a successful businessman. At the age of 14, I was in a gang, I was doing drugs, I was a football hooligan, we were stealing cars, we were doing all the things that you maybe traditionally associate with young Liverpool teenagers. I do fit the stereotype in that particular instance. By the time I was 16, I was offered heroin, and that was a paradigm shifting moment. That was a tipping point. That's when I said no. And I went back to school the next day and did well at school. So that moment taught me that mates come in two forms, snakes and ladders. And as soon as I tell that story and show that, the kids get it instantly. And they start to make decisions about what's stopping them. They start looking at the snakes in their life and the negative influences. And sometimes, more often than not, that can be the parents. Some of these young kids are growing up, they're Islamophobes, they're racist, because of what they're listening to the parents say. And we have to try and get them to start making their own minds up. We also talk about their image, and we have a real good laugh about the lads in Liverpool thinking they're hard, or the girls thinking they're gorgeous. And we really get into the mindset about what they're doing that is so disingenuous and unauthentic, so that they can start to look at themselves and say, do I really want to be like this for the rest of my life? And we do it at just a point at year 9, when that is really prevalent. We also talk about the need to behave to belong. The number of kids who dye their hair because they don't want to be called ginger, the number of lads who listen to music because they want to look cool, the number of girls who do this because of that. There's so many examples of kids who just fit in to belong. So what Be The Change does is take the people that you're going to be working with and put them right in front of us and expose the culture that they're buying into. And once they learn the rules of the game, they can start to make informed choices. And we ask them again. And then very quickly, they realise that there is need to change. And what we try and focus on, if you go to that bit there, we try and focus on that. And the gang, ironically, that I used to be in was called Square One. So we've used that as a message and an icon. And we keep saying, what are the benefits of you making these changes? Try and remain focused. You're all going to go back to Square One. And teachers are not going to see the benefits of you being out of school for 6 days. Maybe your parents won't, but we're planting seeds in their heads that actually get them to think about the benefits. And when they keep meeting their business mentors 5 or 6 times, they might say, yeah, I've gone back to square one, I've done nothing about it, it's too hard. And then we're going to introduce something called trigger mapping this year, where we actually get them to preempt the idea that some of the challenges that they face. But eventually, we've got lots and lots of examples. Rose is absolutely fastidious about collecting data. We've got lots of examples where some young people have made some really significant changes, really quite dramatic changes. We ask the young people what you want and what universities want, and we try and explode the myth that it's about solely academic achievement. And we need you to go into schools and say, actually, it's not about academic achievement. That might be one aspect of what we're looking for, but we're looking for so much more, because I call it the big quiz you. And please don't tell me there's a U missing. Rose is always telling me I've spelt it wrong. There's no such word as quiz you, but we put it in there because it's about qualifications and qualities. Young people are being told that when we're saying it shouldn't be a competition, it should be a marriage between those two things. That's what it should be. It should be about developing those life skills, because fundamentally, you know as well as I do, that if they're going to go on and become parents, and look, they're the gatekeepers of my old age, they're going to need all them skills. They really are. And we should be building curricula around them. We shouldn't be building around individual subjects like French and maths and science. If we built the curriculum around that and around well-being, we could still teach French and maths and science. You've only got to look at the Finnish model, and I know it's a bit of a cliche now, but I'm going over to Holland in December to work in a couple of schools in Rotterdam. They're using things like this on a daily basis. It's no big deal. You know, the Finnish people, the kids are going into bakeries and running bakeries in primary school because of the collaboration with outside agencies. This is where you guys really play a massive role. Not just by getting involved with Be the Change, but going into schools, supporting your local schools and saying, let us help you. Because with the greatest will in the world, and I'm a former teacher, I've got the utmost respect for teachers. The job they do in such oppressive conditions is amazing. But they haven't really got a clue what you guys need. I work with Hogan Lovells, I work with Bloomberg, we've just had a contract with Goldman Sachs come in yesterday morning. We've got some big employers who are removing academic benchmarks in the recruitment process and saying, actually, it's crude to measure kids by exam results now. We're really interested in these things. So when Hastings Direct come into town, I'm up in Bexhill on Tuesday with Rose and the gang, and they'll send, 30 employees in. And the 30 employees have not got a clue about what's going to happen to them. And we have to lead them through it. We have to tell them about, of course they've been briefed, they're not coming into it blind. Jay up there, Jay Button, is great at selecting really appropriate people. He tells them about those 6 days. And then we say, right, there's your role. And most of them get up and walk out when they see that. Because that is a challenge. I'm only joking, they don't leave, but it's difficult. But can you imagine how rewarded and fulfilled they feel at the end of the day when they've worked with them young people? Because they do, after 6 days, really get into those sorts of things. We get the business mentors to share their story. We get them to talk about the successes and failures that they've had in their life. We get the young people to realise that, actually, it's okay to fail. And one of the biggest messages we have on the programme is just that making mistakes is part of education, it's part of life, it's part of growth. And we get the kids to talk about those things. So each individual mentor, Adam I think you had 4 or 5 students in your group. Darren's an old hand at it now, and he can take a couple of groups on. But they have 5 or 6 students, each talking about some profound barriers in their life. And they get to know these people, and after 5 or 6 visits and meetings with them, you can see, all I do, I just become the guy who changes the slides. On the first day, my role's quite important, but my role diminishes as the course goes on, because the proximity, the closeness of relationship that these guys have with the kids is just phenomenal. And I get quite envious because the kids forget my name. but they are really, really bonded with the business mentors, and it makes a tremendous difference. The best thing for me is when you see the kids stand up, kids who would never dream of standing up and speaking publicly, kids who would shy away from the limelight, and they come up and they each do an elevator pitch, starting with their own group. But even just to see them with their own group is just such a fundamental shift for most of them. The kids I was working with in Bexley Heath yesterday, one teacher, and it was a very similar program we were running, but one teacher had to sit with a boy all day, and eventually she just moved away, went out the room and watched him from outside the room, and he stood up and did an elevator pitch in front of a group of young people who he didn't even know. And on Be the Change, that's our staple diet. That's what we're trying to get them to do. So when they come to your interviews, they can do it and they can sell themselves. Those 4 things there, the first 4 things are what we build young people's lives around. After that, we try and help them get into your world, because schools do not do that properly. Think back to your careers advice when you were at school, and I promise you, in my experience, it hasn't really got much better. So what we're trying to do is bring you people into the room to build close relationships with these young people, so that you can give them advice based on your company and your experience. I'm going to shut up. Thanks very much for listening. That was what we do with Be the Change. Have we got time for questions? I don't even know whether we have.
At the end, we're going to...
All right, okay. Is there something else on?
Gary.
Can I sit down?
You can sit
down. All right. Thanks very much for listening.